everyone, it's Holly and Mariki, and we are back with the Emblem Knights final draft. And we are on chapter 9. Is there any end? Well, I guess we'll answer if there's any end. Forget what's happening. I always forget what's happening. I think they're still training, if I remember right. So, we're going to read about their training some more, so let's get started. Sorry, I'm a little hyper. Chapter 9, is there any end? Now, we have to keep training since we have a limited amount of time to train, Ray said at the table the next day. Isn't there such a thing as too much training? Yuri asked Ray from where she sat at the table. Stop being such a wimp, Roy growled at her. What did you say to me? Yuri demanded of him. Stop it, you two, Ray shouted, pounding his fist on the table. I'm not going to do it. But making sure not to break it. That's right, he was super strict. He sighed as the two quieted down. Yuri, I have some good news. We have our swords master with us now, so you can train with him. Oh, joy, Yuri said, sitting back in her chair pouting. Hey, princess, it's not like I want anything to do with you either, Roy growled back. Shut up, Ray shouted. The two of you are going to have to work together, like it or not. Fine, Roy pouted and stood from the table. Come on, princess, let's go practice with our swords. Very well, Yuri said to him, and also stood from the table to follow Roy. The two of you practice for only 1 hour, and then you come practice with me, Ray said to her. Okay, Yuri nodded, and then followed Roy out of the house. Joey, go with Daisuke and practice bow and arrows. Then go to John and practice with herbs, Ray said. Daisuke and Joey left the table without a word. Only 2 hours of practice before dinner? John asked his friend as the two of them sat there to relax for an hour. I figure practice fighting with 2 different weapons for 2 hours and then a small break before dinner, and then before bed we can try to fit in a small lesson on the different types of weapons, etiquette, how to use them, and the like, Ray said tiredly. I hope it'll be enough when things start to get really bad. Can't be helped, John said with a shrug of his shoulders. You only have a limited amount of time to get all this done, and they can only learn so much with how much you're pounding into them. Ray sighed deeply. Sometimes I really hate being the leader, he admitted to his friend. Why do you think we all voted for you to be leader? John laughed at his own joke. None of us wanted the responsibility. Ray shook his head, but was happy to be next to one of his comrades once again. Feels like it has been an eternity since the last time we had a day like this, he said with a small smile. What do you think you're doing? Yuri shouted at Roy. I'm doing the proper stance with this sword, Roy growled back. Yeah, you are if you want to chop your own head off, Yuri shouted back at him. All right, genius, why don't you show me then? Roy challenged her. Yuri adjusted her stance in the correct position. Like this, she said to him. You cheated, Roy said, his face turning crimson with embarrassment. Yuri dropped her sword and gaped at him. How did I cheat? She bristled at his words. I don't know, but you did, Roy growled. Don't pay attention to them. Just focus on what you're doing, Daisuke said to Joey. As Yuri and Roy continued to argue, Joey looked at the target and raised his bow, trying to focus on his target. He let the arrow go and just barely missed the bullseye. He shook his head and winced after he let the string go. How do you do this regularly? It hurts really bad, he said to Daisuke. Daisuke went over to him and looked at the boy's fingers. It's all right. You'll get used to it once the calluses build on your hands. That's enough for today, though. Go ahead and meet with John, and let him teach you some herbology, he said to the boy with a smile on his face. The boy smiled excitedly and dashed off to go get John. Daisuke then frowned and then approached Roy and Yuri, trying to douse both of them with water. But of course it didn't affect Yuri. Hey, what was that for? Roy demanded. Would you two stop it? We're doing something important here. Can't you two realize that and calm yourselves down? Daisuke asked them tiredly. Daisuke! Joey shouted, running over to the man. Come quick! It's John! All right, I'm coming, Daisuke said. He looked back at Yuri and Roy, giving them a meaningful look. Whatever, Yuri said, stalking off towards Ray to try and get some work done with him. Are you ready? Ray asked. Yuri, who gave him a sour expression. What's the matter with you? He asked her. Just forget about it, Yuri said wearily. Let's just get some training done, please. All right, Ray said, following Yuri out to the training area. Yuri was very unenthusiastic about the whole training session, but it was soon apparent that she was proficient in axes almost as well as she was with swords. You never trained a day in your life with swords, and yet you could handle an axe with very little effort? Yuri shrugged. What can I say? We didn't have any boys in the house, so it fell to me to help my dad around the house. He wanted to make sure I knew every tool I used extremely well. I know a hatchet isn't completely the same as an axe, but I can use it as a weapon as well as a tool. Alright, well, that's enough for today, Ray said, as he called it a day. Yuri followed him inside, where dinner was ready and waiting. I'm sorry again, John, Joey said with a frown. It's all right. Accidents happen. John chuckled, patting the boy on the back. What happened? Yuri asked, looking from brother to John. Well, he got a little excited with Yerbs and ended up removing my hair. John said, but it's okay because I fixed it. Sounds exciting, Yuri said to him, a little concerned about her brother doing so many dangerous things. Yuri looked away when he met her eyes. She hated him like she had never hated anyone before. She found him someone who shouldn't be allowed in the group. That was a weird phrasing. But everyone else seemed to really like him, and this made no sense to her. So basically, she doesn't think he belongs in the group. I don't know how that got messed up, but it did. So, sorry for my writing. Yuri went outside after dinner and sat down by the tree. She needed time to think about what to do next, but Ray found her and joined her as she gazed up at the stars. Can I help you? She asked him without looking at him. I'm not here to talk, Ray said to her with a sigh as he leaned his head against the tree. I needed some fresh air myself. Oh, Yuri said, closing her eyes for a second. Your brother? What about my brother? Ray answered her. How do you handle him? She asked him. Hush for a little while, was Ray's reply. They sat in silence for some time. My brother is a very good person. Yuri looked over at him for the first time. Really? I hadn't noticed, she retorted. Ray sighed again. He looked extremely tired. You have to understand, Yuri. He's been through a lot in his life. We all have. He closed his eyes. Roy just has it more difficult than the rest of us. Those with the fire element have a lot of rage they constantly have to hold at bay. They're all in our childhood, and you have a man who is misunderstood and has difficulty keeping his cool. Sounds like he shouldn't be around other people, Yuri commented. She bit her lip, feeling the sting of her own words. Sorry. She tucked her knees to her chest and looked at her legs. I didn't mean to say it like that. I understand. Roy was always misunderstood, Ray answered her. I'm just happy he was allowed to live. Why wouldn't he be allowed to live? Yuri asked him, confused. It's the same as the people with the kiss of death. They are considered a threat, and so are not trusted, Ray answered. All the fire users were killed a long time ago. Ray was the only one allowed to be alive under the condition that he never gave in to the boiling anger inside of him. What's wrong with having that ability? If they give in to the anger, they are stronger, but they are out of control and have no care for the ones that are around them, Ray answered her. Roy watched all his fellow fire users go through it and see what they did to their friends. He's always afraid this will happen, and so is constantly straining himself to keep himself under control. That's why we all respect and care for him. He gives it his all every day, just so he can keep on living and be able to be around all of us. That just sounds awful, Yuri sighed. She could feel a lump in her throat, knowing all too well about being afraid of losing your twin. It's all right. We put up with his temper, and he tries to control it. It was a normal exercise between all of us, Ray said to her with a wry smile on his face. Why is everything so messed up? Yuri asked Ray. Who decided what powers were what, and that people who had such powers should just die? Well, the senior advisor did, Ray answered her matter-of-factly. Why does he get a say in this? Why aren't you telling us about him? She asked him, just wanting to know. Ray sighed and stood from the ground. I have to go, he said to her suddenly. I'll be back later. What? Yuri looked up at him in confusion. I need some time, he said lamely as he walked away. That's the end of chapter 9. I know. It's starting to get better. It gets even better once we get to the middle of the story. We're just learning about the characters. So excited. But anyway, as always, I will put in the description below where you can buy this book if you're interested. If not, that's okay too, because I will keep posting it on YouTube. And I also started a Wattpad, where I post the whole story on there as well. So I guess I could put that in the new description, so you can find it there as well if you don't want to buy it and you just want to read it. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye!